And we will be live in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
A very good morning to all. Welcome to today's webinar, Pharmaceuticals Industry Processes, Risks and New Developments, hosted by Baddi University. I, Vaishali Gautam, extend a cordial welcome to our eminent speaker, Mr. Naveen Mittal, Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. T.R. Bhardwaj, sir, HOD Space Dr. Paras Prakash, Dean Student Welfare Dr. Ravneesh Mishra, Dean Academics and Dean Engineering Dr. Khushmeet Kumar, HOD School of Sciences Ms. Nidhi Gupta, other dignitaries, esteemed faculty members, dear students and other viewers who are connected through Facebook and YouTube for this live session. We have a distinguished personality among us as today's speaker, Mr. Naveen Mittal. It is my honor to give a brief account of his accomplishments and academic achievements. Mr. Mittal is a postgraduate in Personnel Management and Industrial Relations and MBA in Environment Management and also holds a diploma in Industrial Safety. He is currently designated as a manager, Safety, Health and Environment in Centrient Pharmaceuticals Private Limited. He has more than 23 years of experience in bulk drug pharmaceuticals industry, production, projects, and EHS functions. Being an EHS professional with expertise in EHS risk assessment studies, EHS procedures and training, he is a lead auditor, EMS, Environmental Management System, emergency management, mock drills, and emergency training. So now, without a further ado, I request Mr. Mittal to kindly address the attendees.
Thanks, Vaishali ma'am, and it's a really a honor for me to join this webinar with the university. And first of all, I thank Dr. Bhardwaj, who is the Vice Chancellor, and Dr. Nidhi Gupta to invite me as a speaker into this webinar. So today, so I will share my presentation on this webinar. So, and I will be open for any questions in between as well. And of course, in the last, we will have a session on the question answer. So I am sharing my screen now on this webinar.
बताते हैं पहले
आपका मिनट है ना? वीडियो नहीं आ रहा सर बस
My screen is visible to you or not?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. So this presentation is visible, Vaishali ma'am?
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
Okay then. Okay, thank you very much for this. And
It's not in full screen. It's still in the edit mode.
Yeah, I'm trying to make it on the presentation mode.
Okay, sir.
Give me a moment. It's I think it's stuck because of some software issue. Let me check.
Okay, no problem, sir.
Yeah. Okay, is it visible now?
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah, Vaishali ma'am, please check now.
Yes, sir. Now it's
I-
visible, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am, and a warm welcome to every participant into this session. So, as introduced by Vaishali ma'am, so I'm Naveen Mitra. I'm working as Senior Manager EHS functions. So, I'm responsible for handling the APEC region EHS function into the Centrion Pharmaceuticals. So, let me proceed here on the processes, risk, and new developments into this phase. So the topics we will cover today, I will cover a brief information on the Centrion Pharmaceuticals, and then we will discuss about the chemical processes we are operating into the company, and then type of chemicals we are using, and what is the handling process on that part. And then we will discuss a brief about the risks which are associated with the chemical or pharmaceutical industries. We will discuss about the latest developments into the field with respect to the environmental protection, with respect to the compliances, and with respect to the challenges which are being faced by the industry today for the benefit of the mankind. And then we will discuss about what are the opportunities which are available for the next generations into the pharmaceutical industries and how they can enter into this field as a career as well. And then we will go to the questions. First of all, as a protocol, we will start with a safety message during this session. So today my safety message is on the COVID-19. So as you know, the coronavirus is a pandemic around the globe now. So my safety message is on the preventions with respect to the COVID-19. So first of all, the use of the mask. It's the first barrier with respect to our preventions, and then the hand hygiene. It's one of the important tasks, one of the important precaution. Then social distancing, should avoid the crowds. Then and still, if after these precautions we feel any of the symptom with respect to this disease, we should isolate, first of all isolate and quarantine ourselves, and then still if the problem exists, then we should consult a doctor. So I will start with a video on the hand hygiene, that what is the right procedure to wash our hands. So the language is different, so let's focus on the video part. It's a very clear video, so I will run this video. Yeah. So this video is self-explanatory that what should be the steps to wash our hands. Normally we wash on the palm side only, and usually we miss the important portions of our fingers, thumb, and backside of our hands. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for watching this a short clip on the hand wash, and I am quite hopeful that now everyone in this webinar is well understood that what should be the steps with respect to the hand wash and how we can keep our hands clean and disinfected. So let me quickly move into these slides that this is a brief about the Centrion Pharmaceuticals. So it is located into the village Tonsa. It is near to the Ropar district. So when you cross the Ropar district towards the Jalandhar on the main highway, it is located 10 kilometers from the Ropar. However, it falls under the district Navasair. So you are looking at the overview on the site. So it's a aerial view on for the site, and this is entrance picture, and this is the picture of one of our plant. So this is how we look like. So now next about the Centrion Pharmaceuticals. So first of all, we started as Max India Limited in the January 1985. So it was started in the collaboration with a Japanese company, which we call as Toyo Jojo company. It was a company which was with the expertise into the enzymes. This was the first company who manufactured the 6-aminopenicillinic acid into the India. So 6-aminopenicillinic acid is the intermediate to manufacture all the antibiotics like the cloxacillin, sodium amoxicillin, or ampicillin. So all these antibiotics are manufactured with the 6-aminopenicillinic acid. So 6-aminopenicillinic acid is derived from the penicillin G potassium crystals. So this was the first company, and then it goes into the joint venture with the Netherlands company. It was Gist Brocades into the 1993. So it was a joint venture, then it become as a Max GB Limited after that. And then the Gist Brocades was taken over by the DSM. DSM is the Dutch States Mines. It was one of the biggest company into the penicillin products into the world. So it was taken over by the DSM, and we renamed as DSM and Infectives India Private Limited in 2002. And then we came into the joint venture with the Sinochem of China, and Sinochem was a Fortune 500 company. So we came into the joint venture on the 50-50 basis, and then we became this DSM Sinochem Pharmaceuticals India Private Limited. And from the last 2 years, we are known as Centrion Pharmaceuticals India Private Limited. So this company is owned by the Bain Capitals, and Bain Capital is one of the top 5 fund management companies in the world. So Bain Capital is the company. It's a US based company. So now they are the promoter for this company. So Centrion Pharmaceutical is it has a various manufacturing sites into the it has a plant into the Holland, into the Spain, into the Mexico, China, and India. So let me introduce about the product portfolios for the Centrion Tonsa plant. So we have the Purimox, which is the amoxicillin trihydrate. Then we have the Purimox, which is known as a ampicillin trihydrate. Then isoxazoles. So 4 variants of isoxazoles are being manufactured into this site, and then the statins. So this is our Lotus plant, which is known as the Purimox plant. So this is the world's first plant which is enzymatic with the enzymatic technologies for the amoxicillin trihydrate, and we have the we have the patent for this. Then Tabla plant, this is known for the Purimox and Puricillin production, and this is the second plant into the world with the enzymatic amoxicillin and ampicillin production. So first plant is into the Spain, Alberia. So this was also owned by the our company. Then we have a Tarang plant, and Tarang plant is the biggest plant into the world, which is for the atorvastatin and rosuvastatin manufacturing. So we are the biggest manufacturer of the atorvastatin, and statins are known for these are the anti-cholesterol medicines for the heart patients. Then we have the classic plant. So this is the only plant at our site which is operated under the chemical processes. Or otherwise, all the plants are the biochemical plants with the patents into the fields. Then we have the Umang plant. This is also the enzymatic plant which is known for the pitavastatin production. So all these are our plants. So 3 of our plants are with respect to the antibiotics, and 2 of our plants are for the manufacturing of the statins. And we are the biggest manufacturer of the penicillin G products as well into the world. Then on the sustainable development, so Centrient always endorses the idea of the sustainable development, and for us the sustainable development is which meets the needs of present generations without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. Means ki we have to produce, we have to manufacture, but we will not compromise the benefits for the future generations. We will not compromise the things which are available, the resources which are available at the planet. So there are 3 elements with respect to the sustainable development in our organization. First of all, we consider that the respect for the human beings. This is the first pillar for the sustainable development in our company. With respect to the respect of human beings, so the safety, health and quality of life, this is the prime pillar for the sustainable development. And then the second pillar is care for environment, that we should care about our mother planet. And then we have a philosophy that if we take care of these 2 pillars, then the third pillar is economic gain, which is by default you will gain the profit if you will take care of these 2 things. So the economic gain, in other words, we will call it as a people planet profit policy for our company. So we call it as triple P. So now come to the process. So most of the students they are concerned about the chemistry, so they are into the academics with respect to the chemistry. So this topic may be of their interest with respect to the future aspects as well. So this is you can see the 2 pictures on this slide. So one picture is on the internal of our process plant. So this is the actual picture of one of our plant. It is of the statin plant. And second is the distillation unit and the storage of the chemicals. So these are the pictures with respect to the Tarang plant at our site. So with respect to the type of processes, so these are the major processes. First of all, we charge the powders, which are the raw materials like the penicillin G or the 6-aminopenicillinic acid. So mostly two type of solvents are being used for the dissolution. So as a solute, we charge the powders, and powders are being charged into the water and solvents, and then we dissolve those with the process of acidification or basification. Either we decrease the pH of that solvent to dissolve the material into that part, or either we need to raise the pH with the help of the ammonical solutions or with the help of the caustic, these type of alkalis. So this is the first process. We need to dissolve the raw materials into the water or solvent, and it should be a clear solvent then. So once this reaction mixture is prepared, then we do the condensation and coupling or hydrolysis reactions. So in the presence of the enzymes and sometimes we need the other raw materials as well here. So we charge the side chains here as a raw material, and then we go to the next reactions, for example hydrogenation, and after hydrogenation or the condensation or the coupling, then we go to the crystallization. So once the reaction mixture is processed, then the crystallization process is initiated. So here we need to isolate the crystals of the medicines, and for the crystallizations we need to do the acidification or basification again. So once we need to increase the pH or either decrease the pH to isolate the crystals, and once the crystals are isolated, then we do the centrifugation process. This is the isolation of the wet crystals. So we need to isolate, and then the mother liquor is separated into the, and it is collected into the storage tanks. And once we have the wet crystals with us, then we process for the drying operations. And once the medicine is the bulk drugs, they are with us into the dried conditions, then we compact them, we blend them, and then we pack them. The packing is into the 25 kg or 50 kgs, 5 kgs, 10 kgs variants. This is as per the demand of the customers. So this is a brief about the processes. So let me introduce the process flow diagram. So however, I have clarified the process. So this is the process flow diagram. So it's a very generic type of process flow diagrams, because I cannot share the parameters with respect to the reactions as a the IP protection part, because most of our processes are the protected ones. So we make the recipe, for example, that how much raw materials will be added into the chemical reactors, and then we charge the raw materials, then we dissolve it, then the side chain charging, then we proceed for the reaction step. So at every step we need to raise the temperature, or either to raise the temperature or either to decrease the temperature with the help of the utilities. So into the utilities part, we use the steam, we use the hot water as a for the heating utilities, or for the cooling we need the chilled water, or either we use the brine. So into the brine, so normally we use the methyl glycol, or either we use the calcium chloride brine. So these are the normal coolant into the chemical company, or in some of the steps we use the liquid nitrogen as well. So this is the utility. Then we do the filtration of the reaction mixture, and once it is filtered, then we go for the crystallization process. And after the crystallization, we put the crystals into the aging process. So it is validated into the technology labs, into the R&D labs. So after the aging process, we isolate the wet crystals, then drying process, compaction and blending, and then we pack it. So hope I am able to justify this till now. And then in the last we will go for the questions. If any question is there from any of the faculty or any of the student, I can take it at this moment also. Then types of chemicals. So as the university is the students and faculties, they are dealing with the chemistry subject on day-to-day basis. So you are more competent than me on this subject, but let me clarify here that what type of chemicals we are using in our industry. So mostly we are using the organic solvents. They are like methanol, methyl alcohol. We are using the isopropanol, or we are using the ethyl acetate, and lot many organic solvents we are using in our industry. So these are used as a media for the chemical processes, and you know that these are highly flammable as well. Then we use the majority of the acids like hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, nitric acid. These are used as a to raise the lower down the pH of the reaction materials. Then we use the alkalis, and with respect to the alkalis, we use the ammonia in the form of the gas, and we use it as NH4OH as well, ammonium hydroxide into the we purge it into the chilled water, and then we obtain the 10% or 5% of the ammonical solution, and then we use as alkalis. And we use the caustic lye as well as a alkali in our organic process, in our chemical processes. Then we use means a lot of gases are being used. So ammonia gas is used for the process. Hydrogenation, we are operating the hydrogenation process. So here we use the hydrogen gas as well. And you know the hydrogen gas is very dangerous with respect to its explosivity. So we need to take care of over there with respect to the design, with respect to the procedures and other things. Then we use the nitrogen. Normally nitrogen is normally it's 78% of nitrogen is available in our atmosphere, and we have the compressors at our site which extract the nitrogen from the air, and we use 99.9% of the nitrogen, and this nitrogen is used for the various steps into our chemical processes. So normally the nitrogen is used to transfer the reaction material from one reactor to another with the pressure of the nitrogen. And nitrogen is a very good we use it as a inert gas to lower down the oxygen level into the reactors, into the various machines, so as a safety measure, so that the explosion and fires can be prevented. So nitrogen is a very good gas for us. Of course, it carries a risk of the asphyxiation as well. So as a chemistry students, we should be aware of all the material safety data sheets for all the chemicals, and we should be very careful into handling of these chemicals, because they are our friends as well as our enemies. And we use other gases also, like acetylene. We use the LPG. This LPG is used for the canteen process, and we use the zero air. Many gases are being used into the processes, and we use these into the labs as well for the GC and for the HPLC's process, for the testing process. And then we used a lot of powders, like we handle the penicillin G potassium crystals, we use the 6-amino penicillinic acid, and then all of our products, they are the powders, and all the antibiotics and statins, they are the combustible powders. Any question? Okay. Okay, let me proceed here. And we do use the enzymes for the biochemical processes, and with the help of enzymes, so we are able to produce the pure antibiotics and pure statins. So we are the company into the world which believes into the greenfield technologies. So this in our company, most of the antibiotics and statins, they are being produced with the help of enzymes, and with the help of enzymes you can eliminate the use of the organic solvents. And if you eliminate the organic solvents into the processes, you can raise the assay, the purity of the products. And secondly, it is healthy. We can ensure the healthy workplace, that if the organic solvents will not be used, there will be no emissions at the workplace. Hence, means we will be more healthy as a good workplace, and there will be no emissions with respect to the environment. And as well, we can protect our plants from the fire and explosion risks. So there are lot of benefits into the enzymatic processes, and these are mostly the water-based process, and we can save a lot of utilities and energy as well with the help of the enzymes. Then I'm a EHS professional as introduced into the starting also. So I'm handling the APEC function with respect to the risk assessments, and we are doing all type of global risk assessment studies at our plant. And most of the risk assessment studies, we are doing it in-house with our expertise and with our global guidance notes. So the risks, so as a chemistry subject, we should be aware that what type of risks are associated with the chemicals. Of course, most of you are already aware of these things, but let me again refresh these risks and hazards with you. First of all, the use of chemicals, they carry the fire and explosion risk. Why? Why the fire and explosion? Because the most of the solvents, they have a very low minimum ignition energy. So so most of the solvents, they are into the range of means 1 millijoule or less than 1 millijoule minimum ignition energy. And all the products, mostly the antibiotics and statins, they are the non-conductive powders with some of the solvents traces into that, and the MIE of these powders is also very low. It is approximately 3 millijoules, 1 millijoule to 30 millijoules. Normally, this is the range of the antibiotic products, and hence these are very combustible into the nature. And if they are into the confinement, they can result into the explosions. Then there is a risk of static charge. We are using the pressure vessels, we are using the cylinders, we are using the hydrogen, LPG gas, a lot of hot work, sometimes repair jobs, maintenance jobs are being done at the plants to handle any of the leakages or something. And then in today's world, we use the mobile phones, and vehicular movement is also there to load and unload the raw materials and products. So these type of risks are there when you work into the chemical process, but a lot of controls can be there over there. So first of all, we have the design parameters into that. For example, nitrogen is being used as the inertization gas. Then we have the interlocks into the processes. Once you ensure that it is safe, only then it can be operated, otherwise not. Then we have the grounding bonding philosophies, we have the instrumented safety processes, and then we have the mechanical safety provisions. These type of controls are in place. Then leakages and spillages can be there, acids, alkalis, solvents, process materials, effluents we are handling, which calls for the spillage with respect to the, and which can result into the fire, and with respect to the pollution as well. So here we are considering the design control as the high level switches. We conduct the PPM for that. We have the secondary containments. We have the gas detection systems over there. We carry the S5GS on risk with respect to the confined space entries or the nitrogen leak. Sometimes these type of risk can be there. So here also we rely on to the design parts. So as a chemistry student, we should understand that what percentage of oxygen should be present into our confined spaces or into our working areas. So it should be more than 20% at all the times. So we have the interlock processes. So we install the detection system over there. If the oxygen level goes below the 19.5% into any of the areas, it immediately raise the alarm into the working area and into the fire control room as well, and it cut off the nitrogen supply into that area. So control valves are interlocked with the detection system. So these type of controls are in place, and we design the HVACs like the air circulation system. So the air circulation system should be designed in such a way that the refreshing air should be more than, the ratio should be more than the worst case scenario of the nitrogen leaks. So these are the design aspects into the chemical plant. Then we can encounter the toxic releases, which can be the ammonia gas or acetonitrile or sometimes the methyl alcohol vapors. You may be means aware that methyl alcohol is toxic in nature. If someone means can consume it accidentally more than 100 ml, means we can be permanently blind due to this. So here we have many things into place. Again, the safe cylinder handling processes are there, detection system is there, these type of things are there. Then there is a risk with respect to the chemical burns and splashes. Sometimes accidents happen into the chemical plants. People do face some time of suppliers incidents, and which can result into the thermal burns or into the chemical burns. So we have many processes into that, many steps to prevent this risk. For example, closed operations are there. We have the work permits, then PP's practices are there, and only the trained persons handle these type of activities. So this is a brief about the risks into the chemical industries, and lot of means process safety studies are being done to design a safe chemical plant. So into the designing, so the chemistry students and the chemical engineers, they are involved into these type of designings and handling of the chemicals. Uh, then the next new developments. So various developments are there into the into this chemical industry or the pharmaceuticals industry, and they are the challenges as well. For example, first of all, uh, the biggest new development into this field is with respect to the introduction of the greenfield technologies. So we are using the biochemical processes. We are not using any organic solvents. So most of the industries, means if we call about the multinational companies, for example, Pfizer, Glaxo, Centrient, or Cipla, these organizations, they are emerging with the greenfield technologies. So they are developing their processes with the help of the enzymes. So thereby we can eliminate the organic solvents into that part. So this is a new development with respect to the sustainable development. Then you may be aware that means with respect to the antimicrobial resistance. Today we call about that we are consuming the antibiotics, but there is a threat that if we consistently means we continue starting means continue the consumption of these antibiotics. So someday these antibiotics will not be effective with us. So that will be a biggest havoc for the mankind. If the antibiotics will not work, then how to prevent the mankind from the infections? So this is the biggest challenge around the world in front of the mankind. Uh, so here, so three steps are being taken. First of all, we should be manufacturing the antibiotics in a responsible way. So our chemical processes should be closed ones. So none of our chemical or our products should go into the air. So we need to install the HEPA filters into all the HVACs, so that means nothing can go out of our processes. So this is the first process that we should manufacture in a responsible way, that nothing should go into the air or soil through our processes. So this is the first pillar of the AMR, antimicrobial resistance. And second pillar is that we should handle our effluents and our waste in such a way that it should not go to the soil or it should not go into the water table. So this is the second pillar. And third pillar is consumption of the antibiotics. We should not consume the antibiotics by our own only. We should go to the doctor and we should consume the antibiotics on the prescription of the doctor only. Otherwise, one day we will be resistance to this. We will develop the resistance to these antibiotics, and then we cannot prevent ourselves from the infection. So this is the biggest challenge, and lot of developments are there into this process. And this let me share here that Sentient is the front runner in this field into the world. So we have signed the pact into the UN with 12 companies some years back, and some years back AMR was a new concept for most of the people, but into the Sentient it is not it's a way of our life. And we are leading into this front. We have developed our own process, which testing process, which we call it as Delvo process. So into the air, so any of the antibiotic, this should not be more than 50 ppb. So this should be the range, so that our processes and our people, our air environment should be free of the antimicrobial activity. These are the things which are very important to this thing. If antibiotics will be resistant, so whole of the business with respect to the antibiotic manufacturing will be vanished. and we will not be able to prevent ourselves from the infections. So that is why this is the biggest challenge and biggest new development into the world. Then on to prevent the AMR, so pharmaceutical companies, they started a new initiative which we call at pharmaceutical supply chain initiatives. Also initially this was initiated by 12 companies only, so which are the big nose companies into the world like Pfizer, Glaxo, or Sanofi, Centriant. These type of companies were there. But now slowly other players, they are also being associated with this drive. So into the pharmaceutical supply chain initiatives, there are 5 pillars. One is the labor welfare, and second is ethics, then health and safety, then environmental sustainability, and the last part is management principles. So in this drive, we audit our suppliers so that we can make sure that all the suppliers, they are manufacturing the antibiotics with the due care of the sustainable development. They are not doing any of the activity which can create the pollution and which can be a threat to our planet Earth. So this is one of the biggest drive into the pharmaceutical supply chain initiative. Then there is a challenge that that all the chemical companies, they should be zero liquid discharge. So initially the definition of the zero liquid discharge was that we should not send even a single drop of the water from our site to the outside of our boundary. For example, we treat the effluent and we should use it back into the processes. So here, this is the biggest challenge into the pharmaceutical industry, that we are using a lot of water for our chemical processes, but not a single drop of water should go to any water body or to the soil or something. So that is why our effluent treatment system should be updated every time, and we have installed many equipments over there, and our treated water, we are using it as a cooling tower process. We are using it into the cooling tower process, and we are using it back into the, for example, the horticulture process, and we are going to use it for these washrooms, etc. So the water is very clear. It is of the drinking water quality, but we are not using it right now directly into the manufacturing of the antibiotics because of some regulatory constraints. But this is the new development into the pharmaceutical industries, that we should be ZLD side. Then emissions. So most of if you see a chemical plant, so you must have seen that there are storage tanks, and into the storage tanks some vents are there, and you can see from the vents sometimes you can see the emissions in the form of the vapors or into the form of the fumes, which is the biggest threat for our environment. So this is a new development into the industries, that initially only the big companies were taking care of these things, but now other industries, they are also focusing on these things, that nothing should go to the air from our storages, not to the air, not to the soil, not to the water. So, and if we prevent this, we can save a lot of money as well, because if anything is going to the air in the form of pollution, of course for a business it's money. So if we prevent the emissions, if we are just zero liquid discharge company, so we can we can bring a lot of benefits to our business in the form of profits. In the last, what is the role for the next generations into the pharmaceutical industry? So as we are the pharmaceutical industry, so lot of departments, lot of processes are there where the chemistry students, they can start their career or they can be benefited with that part. So first of all, so the chemistry students, they can opt for the research and development laboratory field. So into the research and development, as you know, in the last 20 years, no antibiotics can be manufactured. A new means all the antibiotics, they are developed 20 years back, and in the last 20 years no new antibiotic has been developed. So into the research and development, it's a very good field for the chemistry students. They can opt for this field. Then the quality control labs are there, where we ensure that all the raw materials, they are coming to our companies in a good way. So we test the raw materials into the quality control labs. So it's a very good field for the chemistry students. Then the quality assurance labs are there. Into the quality assurance field, we assure our customers that we are supplying our products with the good quality to them. So this is the quality assurance field where the chemistry students have very good prospects into the future. Then the regulatory affairs department is there, where the chemistry students can enter. Production department, of course, into the most of the chemical processes. So MSc and BSc students, they enter as the production officers or production supervisors into this field. So where they are responsible for the smooth chemical processes. So this is a big field where a lot of chemistry students, they are pursuing their career. Even I started my career as in the production field only. So initially I was into the production, and then I moved 15 years back, I moved into the safety, health and environment department. So this is a good field into the pharmaceutical industry. And there are various fields like the demand supply chain management processes there, where warehouses are there, logistics are there. So in this field, this is a good field. Then we have projects sourcing, which earlier we call it as the purchase department. Now worldwide it is we call it as sourcing department. Then sales and marketing department is there. So lot of streams are there where the chemistry students can pitch into that part as a career as well, and it's a very good field. And now you know that most of the pharmaceutical companies, they are going out of the China, so it's an emerging field into the India. So at least so there is a forecast that into the coming 10 to 20 years, this field will grow like anything. So it can be a very good field for the chemistry students if they opt for the industrial career. So this is all from my side. So you can ask any question on this field if anything is in your mind. So I'm open for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such an informative presentation. Now the house is open for question answer session.
Yeah.
I request to all the panelists and faculty members to kindly ask their queries.
Sir, may I?
Yeah, please.
Sir, in terms of coronavirus epidemic right now that is happening, what particular precautions are we taking in terms of, especially my reference is especially towards the HEPA filters? Because the coronavirus diameter is about 80 to 220 nanometers.
Yeah.
So is there any particular direction or regulatory requirement to avoid the virus coming in the system? Or if it comes, then how do we get rid of it?
Thanks for your question, Dr. Paras, and let me answer. Hopefully I will be able to answer your question. Like, first of all, in the industry, so it's the crucial time across the world that we should run our businesses in a safe way. So it's a new normal for us. So we call it as new normal. So under the new normal, we means first of all, we should carry out the risk assessments with respect to the pandemic, and then we should have the preventive measures across the industry. So first of all, we ensure that anybody who is entering the site, at the manufacturing site, he should be means in the healthy condition, and none of the person is in the sick condition first of all. So this is the utmost, we are taking the utmost care for that. And we have means setup, there is a setup of the occupational health center at the entrance of our company only. So there is a no visitor policy at our company at this moment. So as a visitor, all the audits are being handled on the virtual platform only. So at this moment, only the drivers are the outsiders who are coming to the site, and we are doing all type of checkings in the form of the like thermal screening. We are checking the pulse, oxygen level, and everything about their travel histories and all that. And we are providing them the additional PPEs. For example, we are providing them the masks and gloves, face shields, shoe covers. So these type of PPs are being used while entering to the manufacturing site. Secondly, let me more specific on the process part. On the process part, so most of the process areas, they are the controlled ones, and into the controlled areas, so all the aspects with respect to the gowning process, they are being handled. So nobody can enter into the process area without the sanitization. So this is a means with respect to the corona. This was not only with respect to the corona, it was a earlier practice as well as a GMP good manufacturing practice into all of the pharmaceutical industries, that anybody who is entering to the chemical processes, they should be properly sanitized before entering to the manufacturing unit. And secondly, all the HEPA filters, they have the means periodicity with respect to the replacements. So any we are not means cleaning the HEPA filters, we are directly replacing them. And any of the HEPA filter which is being replaced, which is means waste for us, they are being incinerated to take care that nothing goes to the air or something. So these type of precautions are in place at this moment here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paras sir, for your question. Any other faculty member who would like to ask his queries?
Yes, ma'am. I have one question. May I ask?
Yeah, please.
Sir, I am very happy that you have very exhaustively covered the various risks in the various chemical processes, etc.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know whether or not there is some system in place which enables you to quantify, to identify and then quantify the risk, their likelihood, and the possible impact. And similarly, as far as controls are concerned, whether we have a system to identify the controls and to see how effective those controls are, and whether there is some sort of audit to see whether you are properly addressing your risks, and similarly how effective the controls you are using.
Thanks, Dr. Keshav. It's a very interesting question for me that first of all, we are doing each and every process risk assessment study which is at the global level. So we are doing all the risk assessment studies first of all. Then these process safety studies, they are not the qualitative studies only, they are the quantitative studies also. Like we consider that what can be the consequence. For example, if we consider that a explosion can happen or a fire can happen or a leakage can happen or a gas leakage can happen, so in that case we should consider what type of consequences can be there. Then what should be the likelihood for that, then whether the person can avoid that consequence or not, and then what should be the occurrence period for that part. So these type of likelihood into the and severity scenarios are being considered. Then we translate those scenarios into the quantitative risk assessments, and then we came to the levels. For example, we consider it as a SIL levels, safety integrated levels. So the safety integrated levels, they are from RL1 scenario, SIL1, SIL A scenario to SIL4 scenario. So if as a outcome of the risk assessment study, if it is SIL B or SIL4 case, so this project is not at all approved by our management. So we can go to the approval for those processes which are up to the SIL3 level only. And for example, how to control those scenarios. So we are installing the instrumented safety provisions and mechanical safety provisions over there, and these provisions are should be certified as per the SIL levels. So SIL is it's a very specialized field which is being handled by the instrumentation engineers and the chemical engineers, and lot of calculation is there with respect to the probability of failure on demand for these things. And then there is a preventive maintenance plan, and all the global audits and the third party audits are in place to verify that these controls are well maintained. Otherwise, see, there are two fields, Dr. Keshav. It's a very you asked a very interesting question, like occupational safety is there into a chemical industry, and then there is a process safety. In the case of occupational safety, means we can have a cut on the finger, on the hand. This type of risks are there which can be managed very easily, and it's a thing of two things to heal that wound if something happened. But into the process safety, if any explosion will be there, you know that the primary explosions are less hazardous and the secondary explosions are more more severe with respect to the destruction. So the business can end into that part. For example, Bhopal, you are aware of that part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. My question is addressed.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Keshav.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Keshav, sir, for your question. Is there any other question from the panelists and faculty members? Okay, now I request Madam Nidhi Gupta to please ask her queries.
Now,
yes,
sir,
yeah.
Thank you, sir, for the knowledge that you have shared with us. I wanted to ask, what health hazards do the shop floor employees face, and what preventive measures are taken with respect to handling of hydrogen gas?
Thank you, ma'am, for asking. Actually, two questions are there. First is with respect to the health hazards. So like I shared that we are handling a lot of inflammable chemicals, solvents, gases, and the powders. So first of all, our processes should be designed in such a way we consider the threshold limit value here. You must be aware that the threshold limit values are those exposures. If I'm working in a exposure for 8 hours on daily basis, so I should not have any occupational threat to my health. So that these are the safest, these are considered as the safe values for working with respect to the humans. So these values are derived by the ACGIH, which is an American organization. So it's they are driving these values, and every year they publish the book also on the TLVs. So first of all, our design should be like that no exposure of the gases, powders, solvents, noise, these should not be more than the TLV. Rather, we design our processes that with respect to the solvents and powders, so we should not be more than 20% of the TLV values, first of all. With respect to the noise, there is a restriction that the noise level should not be more than 70 dBA. So you know that in India it was earlier the 90 dBA was the threshold limit value, as set by the government of India, but into the US also it is 90 decibels. But as we were a European company earlier, so in the Europe the threshold limit value with respect to the sound is 80 decibels. So we are following the 80 decibels, but we are not designing our processes for more than 70 decibels. And with respect, we are we are studying our powders, our products with respect to the occupational exposure bands. So all of our products, they are into the occupational exposure band 3. So it means that the exposure of our powders should not be more than 1 mg per meter cube in our workplaces. And we are doing the industrial hygiene monitoring as well as for all the exposures, for example noise, powders or solvents. So if in any of the area we found after the monitoring that this value is going above and it is not well within the prescribed limits, we immediately initiate the design provisions over there to eliminate that risk, first of all. Secondly, but still after these type of design factors, still there are some residual risks at the show floor. To prevent these residual or accidental risks, we use a lot of PPEs in the form of we use the N95 masks for our powder handling areas. We are using the gowning processes, and we are using for example, we are using the nitrile gloves for our processes, which are the anti-static ones. And with respect to the shoes, we are using the safety shoes with the anti-static property into the sole. So these type of parameters are there with respect to the risks. And in addition to that, HVACs are installed. So all the plants, they are centrally air conditioned, and the HVACs are provided with the HEPA filters. So refreshing air is there into that part. With respect to the hydrogen gas, so there is first of all, the hydrogenation unit is well isolated from the main facility. So, and secondly, it is remotely operated via DCS. So no operator is working in that unit. Secondly, with respect to the pressure, most of the things are controlled by the pressure reducing valves, and the safety relief valves are there. Then the flame arresters are there, gas detection system is there. And with respect to the hydrogenation, like the reaction is being operated at the 10 to 12 kg per centimeter square. So these type of reactors, they are designed at a design pressure of more than 20 kgs. And the building is normally the explosion proofs, like all the walls are made with the concrete, and the roofs are always collapsible to release the heat, reaction heat in case of the explosion. So these type of parameters are in place, and all the installations are the flame proof installations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for asking this question. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir. Do we have more questions from any faculty member or the panelists? Okay, it seems that all the questions have been answered.
One more.
Yeah, please.
Okay,
please.
Sir, I wanted to ask that, as you said that you are having projects.
Yeah.
So, sir, can our students work on those projects along with pursuing their masters?
See, this question is related to it is directly related to the human resource management. So I'm not the best person to address these questions. Normally many students, they join our organization as trainees as well during their study period, but it is the HR who will who will be the best judge here, who can answer this question. So I can refer this question to my HR team to answer this. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, as yours is a pharmaceutical industry, so we would like to send our students to visit your plant. So,
see, if you want to have a visit to our plant, first of all, you can, first of all. Secondly, if you want a industrial tour for the plant, probably during this month it will not be feasible as a
No,
corona
sir.
period
It will be
because
after COVID only.
yeah. Normally
After
many of the
after the COVID era is over.
yes, ma'am. Normally, many universities are there which are visiting our plants as industrial exposure for the students. But for that means you can send a
Yes, sir. I
formal
know.
email
Yeah,
request
yeah.
to the
That will be
yeah,
done, sir.
yeah. Then it can be granted. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other question from any panelists and faculty members? Okay, let's move forward. I think now all the questions have been answered, and I request HOD Space, Dr. Paras Prakash sir, to kindly share his expert comments on today's webinar.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity for making the expert comments. Although I'm not the expert in this, but I'd still like to summarize what Naveen has already shared with us. And first of all, thank you, Naveen for showing us insights into sentient pharmaceuticals and insights into the environment, health, and safety aspects of the company. We are very happy to be enlightened by looking at the job profile that you are involved in, and you look at the APAC region. So that is a huge area that you cater to. And coming to Bain Capital, which are the promoters of the company, are a sizable group in the US. And we are aware that in India, they've made about $4 billion of investment, which is again very heart felt for the Indians because we need the jobs and definitely it's a great deal. I was personally very fascinated by learning that three of your plants are named after musical, aspects, which was slightly in contrast to because I'm personally very involved with music myself. So tabla, tarang, and umang. These were
Yeah.
the three things that you mentioned in your presentation, which was very heartwarming. But any particular reason why is it so?
Yeah, Dr. Pars, thank you for thank you for asking this question. So there is a story that first of all we introduced our Lotus plant as a Purimox plant. So earlier our site was first of all it was a vision by the company that our names, our plant should be means it should be symbolic with respect to the processes and with respect to our vision first of all. So it was management means vision first of all. Secondly, we started the Lotus plant into the 2006. At that time all of the plants were the chemical plants, and suddenly this plant came as the enzymatic plant without use of any solvent into the processes. So it was like a lotus into the mud. So one enzymatic plant in all the chemical plants. So that is why it was named as the lotus plant. Then there was a tabla plant. Tabla, why tabla? In this plant, we manufacture two of the products, and both the products are the enzymatic products with the highest purity into the market. See, we have the assay of normally 100% of assay is not there into the medicines. Normally 98.2 or 98.5% assay is there, but we are manufacturing the antibiotics with a assay of more than 99%. So it's a benefit to the patients, it's a benefit to the to our customer as well. So, and we manufacture two products into that plant, Puricillin and Purimox. That is why we consider it as a tabla, because we used to play the two instruments at the same time. So that is why it was named as tabla plant. Then there is a plant which is called Trang. So into the Trang plant, we manufacture the statins, and into the statin, 5 stages are there. So we started the raw material plant as 2 stages, which was named as Sarangi.
Okay.
So we manufacture the raw materials